So in this session, now we are going to discuss very important concept, which is SQLite database connectivity in Android application. So let me discuss few points about SQLite and then we will start implementation. So SQLite is one of the inbuilt database which is supported by Android applications and which is open source. So you don't need to even buy it. Openly it is available and it supports all the relational operations which we can perform using MySQL. Like all the CRUD operations are there. We can create the database, we can create the table, we can insert the values, we can update it, we can delete the values. Everything is possible using SQLite. So it supports all standard relational database features, we can say, whatever you are doing in SQL and PLSQL. So that is why it is very important. And Android comes up with a built-in SQLite database implementation. So there are a few things which you need to remember to work with a database integration in Android. You just need to understand flow and you need to remember these steps. Otherwise, it is very easy. Fine. So to create and upgrade a database in your Android application, first thing is you need to create a subclass of the one of the inbuilt class, which is let me share my screen first. So meanwhile, let me open the new module, create the new module. Let's give name SQLite database demo and finish. So there are few steps which you need to remember. Step number one is, if you want to create and upgrade your database in your Android application, then you need to create a subclass of SQLite Open Helper class, which is one of the inbuilt class which supports all the queries and all the relational features which we are using in our database. So you need to create the object of this inbuilt class, or you can say you need to create a subclass of this SQLite Open Helper class. Then second step is you need to implement the methods which are there. Third step is you need to call the constructor. Yeah, and then create database, then create table, and then whatever we want to do. Let's say I want to insert the values in table. That also we can do. If I want to fetch all the inserted value, then I can fetch the data from table. I can update the value. I can delete the value. So everything is there. But the very important thing is you need to remember these 5 steps. It's very easy. So what we will do whenever we will start with the implementation part, we will create one class which will be a subclass of this SQLite Open Helper. Fine. આપણે એક એવો ક્લાસ બનાવશું કે જે આપણા SQLite Open Helper નો subclass હોય. This is what we will do as a first step. Then we need to implement few methods which are there for database creation and table creation, so that those methods we will implement. And then we will call the constructor to create the database. That's it, and it is very easy, don't worry. And so let's start with the application straight away. So what we will do, yeah, so let's create one class and make subclass of the SQLite Open Helper. So what we will do, either you can create your class inside this class also, and you can create in the package also. Both the ways are valid. So to track it separately, let me create the class outside this file. So let's right click on this package, click on new, and you can find a Java class, and you can give any name. Let's say this class is a kind of helper class, so let's say it is DB helper. You can give any name, it is up to you. So you can see I have created one class which is a DB helper. This is our first step. You can see here you need to create a subclass of SQLite Open Helper class. So as of now I have just created a class, still it is not a subclass of SQLite Open Helper. So now my question is, what if I want to make this class as a subclass of SQLite Open Helper? What should I do? Yes, I have created class. Now I want to make this class as a subclass of SQLite Open Helper. So what should I do? Yes, few people are saying that we need to extend it. Correct. So let's extend this class with SQLite Open Helper. So extends SQLite Open Helper. You can see the inbuilt class is there. And as soon as I have extended my class with SQLite Open Helper, I am getting an error. So just press Alt or Enter, and you can see you will get the notification you need to implement methods. So as I said, there are few methods in the SQLite Open Helper which are the abstract methods. So whenever you extend any class, and if the class is having abstract methods, you need to implement all the methods in your class. So let me click on this implement methods, and you can see there are two methods, on create and on upgrade. So if I want to create the database, then the method is on create, and if I want to upgrade the database, then the method is on upgrade. So let's go with both the methods, because we never know whether we want to upgrade the database in future or not. So let's implement both the methods. So you can see both the methods are implemented here, on create and on upgrade. Fine. So far, any difficulties? As I said, you just need to be with me and you need to remember these steps only. Otherwise, database connectivity is very easy. So what we have done, we have created a class and we made that class a subclass of SQLite Open Helper. Now we have implemented the methods. Now the third thing is we need to call the constructor. So if you can see here, I'm getting an error, and that is due to the constructor only. So let me press Alt or Enter again. You can see here, you need to create the constructor which matches the super constructor. So let me click on that and select the first one, which is SQLite Open Helper. Again, it is the constructor. Click on OK. So you can see it has created the constructor. Fine. So again, I'm repeating. What is this? Step number 1, create the class. Step number 2, make it subclass of SQLite Open Helper by extending it with SQLite Open Helper. Next step, implement on create and on upgrade methods. Third step, create the constructor. So now in this constructor you will find many things, but as of now for database connectivity this is not needed. So let me make it simple one. I need context only, so let's remove the other parameters. I need context only. Now for database creation we need certain things. We need to have database name, we need to have table name, and if in that table if you want to create multiple columns, then we need to know what are the columns I'm going to create in my table. So everything must be there. So for that, what I can do, I can go with few variables, and later on I can refer all those variables. So let me start directly. Let's go with a database name, uh, private static final string. Let's say database name equal to what we will give. Let's say sample.db. This is the database name. So whatever database we will create, the name would be sample.db. Fine. Later on, whenever you need database name, straight away you can use this. But for simplicity, I am creating the variable so that as and when database name is needed, as and when table is needed, I can simply pass the variable name. Are you getting me? અહીંયા જે sample.db ને આપણે database name નામના વેરિયેબલમાં સ્ટોર કર્યું, એવું ના કરવું હોય તો અહીંયા નેમની જગ્યાએ ડિરેક્ટલી પણ તમે sample.db યુઝ કરી શકો. But for making it simple, we are doing this. Otherwise, it is up to you. તમને એમ થાય કે અહીંયા વેરિયેબલ નથી જોતા, ડિરેક્ટલી કરવું છે, then also you can do it. Fine. Are you getting me? Yes, .db extension is needed for making sure that this is the name of the database. Okay, great. So we have given the database name. Similarly, let me give table name, private static final string. Let's say table name, and let's say it is scorecard. Let's say this is my table name. Fine. Just a minute. Fine. So this is how you can give database name and table name, and you can store it in variables. So far we have created two variables for database and table. Now let's say in this table I want to store few things like first column would be, let's say, ID, second column would be, let's say, first name, then last name, and then let's say marks of subjects. So let's say I want to go with 4 columns. So for all 4 columns, again you can go with variables also, and if you want to give it manually, then you can give manually also. So as of now, to avoid the confusion, let me go with a manual way. Otherwise, what you can do, you can give the thing like this: private static final string. Let's say column 1 equal to, for example, ID, like this. Similarly, column 2, let's say it is first name, then last name. And so this is also valid, but as of now, let me avoid this. Later on, we will do that. Fine. So let's say we have created database. Actually, we have not created. We have just stored the name in the one of the variable, which is a database name, and table name is scorecard. Now what we will do, we will have to pass the database name here, which is database underscore name, and this is always null. Don't think about this. And the version of database. So for example, as of now, I'm creating this database for the first time. So let's say the version is 1. Now if I'm upgrading the database, then I can go with 2. Later on, if I'm upgrading it, I can go with 3, and so on. So it is up to you how many versions you want to establish for this database. Accordingly, you can give the integer values. So let's say I'm building it for the first time. So I'm giving version 1. Fine. Now, so far, any doubt? See, you need to be with me because this is very crucial. If you are not getting anything, then you need to stop me. Is it clear? Okay, great. So now we can say our database name is ready, table name is ready, and we have two methods, on create and on upgrade. So now if I want to create the table, First we will create the table, and then I will let you know how you can create the database. Otherwise, database creation must be the first step, but still let me go with the table creation first. So I hope you are clear with all the queries which you are using in database management system. Like if I want to create the table, then the query is create table, table name, then you can give the column name and you can give the values. યાદ છે આવું બધાને ટેબલ કઈ રીતે બને ડેટાબેઝમાં? You need to remember the queries. કોઈ મારે કોલમને ચેન્જ કરવી છે તો I can go with alter table query. I can alter it. So if you are fine with all the queries, then you will find it very easy. Otherwise, you need to first understand all the queries and then you can work on a database. So now there are few methods which can create the database and tables for you. So you can see here in onCreate method, I am passing SQLite database and the object. So in this SQLite database class, there are few methods which are very helpful for us and which will uh, execute the queries for you. So let me see whether the methods are there or not. And if I want to check whether any inbuilt method is there or not, I can always use the object of inbuilt class. So the object is with me, which is SQLite database. So I can use SQLite database dot. Let me see if I am having any query. You can see here the query is execute SQL. So this is what I'm going to do. I want to execute the SQL query for creating the table. Fine. In this example, I want to create the table. So to create the table, I need to fire the SQL query. And for that, I'm having this method exec SQL. Fine. So in this, I can write the query. So what is the query? Create table. And I'm already having a table name. So let me use that table name from this variable only. Otherwise, you can give manual name also. It's up to you. And inside this, let's say I want to create few columns. So what are the columns? Let's say I want to go with ID, first name, last name, and score of any subject. So what I can do, let's say I can give ID. The first column is ID. Now we need to specify a few constants also and data types also. Like in database, you I don't know, but you may have observed that you can give various data types like varchar, number. Yes or no? For ID, either you can go with number. For things where characters are there, you can go with varchar. So similarly for this, there are terminologies which are different. For ID, if I go with number, then instead of number, the terminology says we need to give integer. That's it. So let's say the column name is ID, data type is integer, and if you want to specify any constraint, like if you want to make it primary key, or if you want to go with foreign key, if you want to make it auto increment, then that you can specify here. Let's say I want to go with primary key, so I can simply write like this, primary key. And you need to see the color combination. If you are, let's say I am, see if I made the spelling mistake, then I'm getting wrong color. So from color only you will come to know that you are going in correct way. And let's say I want to make it auto increment, because every time I don't want ID to be entered manually. So you can go with auto increment facility also, like this. That's it. Similarly, let's say I want second column, which is let's say first name, which is not varchar. In this case, it is text only. Similarly, let me go with last name. So let's say last underscore name, which is also text. And let's say marks, which is text or number. What do you think? Yes, it would be an integer only. Yes, correct. So let me go with integer for marks also. Yeah, that's it. So we have created table. Fine. I hope you are clear with this query. It is very simple query which we are using in SQL. If I want to create table, then the query is create table. Then I need to give table name, and within the bracket, I need to specify all the columns which I am going to create in my table. So as of now, in my table, I am going to create four columns. First column is ID, then first name, then last name, and marks. So I have specified column names, then data types and constraints if needed. So let's say I have created this table. Now in case of upgrade, what you can do in the on upgrade method, again you can use the same query SQLite database dot exact SQL. Now if you want to upgrade the table, then as you know, to upgrade the table, the query is a drop table. Whatever table is created, you need to drop the previous table and you can create the new table. So what you can write here, you can write drop table if exist. હવે query તમારે આવતી if you remember. I don't know whether it was there in your syllabus or not, but if I want to drop the table, then this is the query. Drop table if exist, and I can give the table name. So in my case, table name is this table name. And once the table is dropped, I need to call the onCreate method again to create the new table. So I can call onCreate and I can pass the reference of this SQLite database. So let's pass it here. That's it. Is it clear so far how to create the new table and how to drop the table if it is already created, and if you want to upgrade it? As of now, we will not upgrade the table, but this is how you can upgrade it. You need to call this upgrade method also manually. The way we are calling onCreate method, similarly you need to call onUpgrade method. Then and only then your table will be upgraded. Is it fine so far? Any doubt? Yes or no? Okay, great. So far what we have done, we have created table, we have written the syntax for upgrading the table. Now the only thing is database is not created. So whenever we want to create database, then that code we need to write for the first time only in your application. See, you need to mark my words carefully. Whenever you are interacting with internal database using SQLite database in Android, make sure that you write the code which can create the database for the first time only. Then later on you need to remove that code. I will explain that also. And you can create your database in the constructor only. And for that, only one line is needed. So what you can do, you can use the inbuilt class which is SQLite database. Create the object of this, let's say DB, and you can use this dot get. Now you can see various things: get readable database, get writable database. So if you want to just read the database which is already created by this application, then you can go with get readable database. But if you don't know what you want to do with this database, either you want to write it or you want to read it, then it is always advisable that you go with the get writable database so that you can perform all the operations. So what I have done, SQLite database DB equal to this dot get writable database. This statement will create the database. So this constructor will pass the database name. It will go to the super constructor of this SQLite open helper. Let me show you if I can show that. See, you can see this is the SQLite open helper class, inside which you will find many things. So earlier you were supposed to do everything, but now you don't need to do anything. You can simply pass super keyword and you can give database name and version. So it will create the database for you. So that's it. We are done with database creation. We are done with table creation. Now the only thing is we need to run the application to check whether the database and table is created or not. But before that, if you have any doubt, then let me know. So far, if you have any doubt, otherwise we will see whether this application has created database and table or not. Let me know if you have any doubt. Version 1 means as of now we are creating the database for the first time, so I can start from 1, I can start from 2, it is my choice, which will indicate that these many versions of this database I have used in my application. So for example, as of now the version is 1, and later on I want to upgrade the entire database. I don't want to upgrade the table only, but I want to change the even database also. So in that case I can pass 2, so that would be the second version of my database. જેવી રીતે આપણે એપ્લિકેશનમાં કેમ અપડેટ્સ આવે છે, so this is all about version. So mostly it would be one only in all the applications, because many a times it is needed that we need to alter the column name, we need to alter the tables, but database name is not playing any role in your application. Whatever name it is, you don't need to concern with that, but you need to concern with the columns. So we need to have requirement where we can change the column names, but we don't need to change the table names. So mostly the version would be one only. But still, if you can, if you want to modify it, you can. It is not that it would be one only. Fine. Any other doubts? Yes, very important question. Where the table will be created. So that is what I'm going to explain. Don't worry. But in the code part, if you have any difficulties, then let me know. Otherwise, I will show you where the database will be created, where the table will be created, and whether the table is created or not. That also we need to check. But in the code part, if you have any query, then let me know. It's very simple. Only few things we have done here. We have made the class as a subclass of SQLite Open Helper, implemented onCreate and onUpgrade method, created constructor. We have written the query for creating table. We have written the query for upgrading the table, and we have written the code for database creation. That's it. Now my question is, whenever I will launch this application, what will happen? It's very easy question. It's very easy. Whenever I will launch this application, what will happen? And if you don't get this, then you are very poor in Android. This is what I believe. Say for example, if I am launching the application, then what will happen? What will be the output? And what will be the entire flow? It's very silly question actually. Yes, anyone? No one wants to go for it. Yes, Nikhil, you are right, but what would be the output and what would be the flow? This is what I'm asking. Otherwise, you are right. Jay, by looking at the code, you are right, but your answer is wrong. Your concept is correct, but for the question which I have asked, you are wrong. See, again, I am repeating the question. In my application, I am having two classes. One is my main class, other one is my DB helper class. My question is, whenever I will launch this application, what would be the output? Yes, Nikhil, now you got it. You are correct. Don't write it to everyone. You are correct. Yes, I am waiting for others. What will be the output? See, it's very silly question, as I said. You just need to go with the basics. Yes, Nikhil, you are correct. It's perfectly fine. See why other people are not replying? Where are you guys? Riya, Siddharth, Jainil, Krunal, Gautam. There are many people. Kausik, Darshan. Are you there? Yes, Sunil, you are also there. No. Yes, Darshan, your answer is right, but in context of my question, you are wrong again. Okay, so let me explain. See, whenever I will launch the application, then if you can see the main activity, then you can see this is the only logic. So it will find the XML file which is activity underscore main, and this in this activity there is only one component which is your text view, which is hello world. So you will get this only. Now many people were replying that table will be created, database will be created, but how? We have created this class, but we are not giving any control to this class. How can this class be executed? From main activity, I need to do something so that it can call this and it can execute all the methods. Are you getting me? From main activity, we will have to do something so that it can execute this DB helper class. સમજાય છે શું કહું છું? અત્યારે DB helper ક્લાસ આપણો રેડી જ છે કે એમાં આપણે કન્સ્ટ્રક્ટર ની અંદર ડેટાબેઝ ક્રિએટ કરી દીધો, ઓન ક્રિએટ ની અંદર ટેબલ ક્રિએટ કર્યું, ઓન અપગ્રેડ માં ટેબલ અપગ્રેડ કર્યું, એવરીથિંગ ઇઝ રેડી. બટ as of now this class is not having any role to play. This is what I'm saying. It is totally a separate class. So whenever we will launch the application, it will launch the main activity only where there is nothing. So now from this class I need to give something so that it can execute all of this. તો એના માટે આપણે શું કરશું? As you know, if I want to create the database, then the code for database creation is placed inside the constructor. So I need to call this constructor. Constructor જો call થશે તો અને તો જ મારો database બનશે. So now the question is how to call this constructor. How to call the constructor? If I want to call the constructor of any class, what should I do? Whether it is inbuilt or user defined. Yes, Darshan, you're right. We need to create the object of the class. It's very simple. So as of now, if I want to call this constructor DB helper, then the class name is DB helper. So I need to create the object of this DB helper class. So let me create the object here. Let's say DB helper and object is, let's say, helper. Let me create the object here. Helper equal to new DB helper. Do we need to pass any parameter here? Is it needed? Should I pass any parameter? You can see this DB helper constructor. No. Why? Because in this constructor there is one parameter. But in the object creation I am not passing any parameter. So always I will get an error. Whenever I will create the object, constructor is going to be invoked. So if I am not passing anything, it means in this DB helper constructor there should not be any parameter. But as of now there is one parameter. Are you getting me? So this will not work. અહીંયા DB helper constructor માં એક પેરામીટર છે, આપણે જ્યાં ઓબ્જેક્ટ બનાવ્યો છે ત્યાં પેરામીટર જ નથી, તો બે મેચ જ નહીં થઈ. તો બેને મેચ કરવા માટે મારે શું કરવું પડશે? તો કે અહીંયા DB helper માં કન્ટેક્સ્ટ છે, તો મારે અહીંયાનો કરંટ રેફરન્સ ત્યાં પાસ કરવો પડશે. So I can pass this. That's it. Now you can see error is not there. Fine. So now let me launch this application and let's see what it does. We have only 1 minute. So if it gets disconnected, you can rejoin using the same link. So now what this application will do? First it will launch the activity main and it will give the layout where there is hello world. But in the background it will create the database also, because we are creating object. So whenever we will create the object, it will go to the a DB helper class, it will go to the constructor, it will create the database, then it will call the onCreate method, will create the table. So database and table will be created in this case. And so let's see what it does. So still it is getting installed. You can rejoin the meeting. Yeah, actually now it is getting installed. Let me install it. And you can see it gives hello world only. So now in the next session we will see where database is there and where the table is. Fine. You can disconnect and rejoin quickly.